from. Zooming into the team itself, the coaching bits, the playing body, and all of that, what really is the issue in there? Why are they unable to play well and win games with a bit of comfort against some of these teams on the continent?
Man, teams are built like technical teams. And for me, I am sorry, but Hughton doesn't inspire much. I don't know what he does during training sessions. I don't know what he goes through during the selection process. But he has given us more questions than answers. For instance, I believe even those who argued that Chris is our man and after Otuado, he should be given the job. If you recap their debate then, one of the major reasons why people said we should give the job to Chris was he came across as a tough person. That we will entrust him to take the tough decisions. And that we will forever remember him as a no-nonsense person who would take those decisions that will automatically affect the subculture of the national team. And what I'm driving at is the kind Black Stars as we see it. When we look back at the previous subculture of the team, all that Ghanaians crave for is for a coach that will step up in his shoes, make critical decisions and say, look, I am looking for competence, those who are getting playing time, those who are on form, those who are committed, those who are disciplined, and those who understand the task of what our Black Stars is supposed to be. Now, when this coach came, his scholars, some of the names have been questionable. Because if you pass them through these criteria I have mentioned, then there will be some names that will not pass the test. That every Ghanaian citizen will want our Black Stars scholar to pass through. Again, if you take decisions in that manner, where even you, the coach, will struggle to give us consistent answers as to why player A or player B is scored. For instance, the last two games that we played, if you visit the roster from Hughton, we had as many as 5 wingers. 5 wingers. We ended up playing the 2 games, and both of our starting 11 didn't have any of those conventional wingers. Then you ask yourself, what then went into the planning in him calling 5 wingers if he knew that in our game against Madagascar and Comoros, we were going to play Jordan Ayew and Inaki on the wings and had nothing to do with Joseph Pencil and the rest of the guys who are conventional wingers in our team. So you do critical detail analysis of his decisions as a coach. And you ask yourself a lot of questions. For instance, Chris tells us that a player like Majid Ashimeru, even in the absence of key players like Thomas Epate and the rest, Kofi Tre and the rest, because of fitness issues, and because he's coming back from injury, he's not match fit enough, he can't start games. But then again, we go to Comoros, and we see that same coach with a principle as why Majid Asmeru can start games, starting Andre Ayew. Then you ask yourself, what is the criteria then? Is he being consistent with us? Ben, he's putting us been with the team after the World Cup, and we are still struggling to find an identity for the Black Stars. We are still struggling to find a pattern of play for the Black Stars. We are still struggling to be able to ascertain where our cohesiveness and transitions are coming from. That is not good enough. And beyond Chris Hughton, who is supposed to get all the bashing, it's our individual players and why they are not even turning up in magical moments. Yes, beyond coaching strategy, beyond their selections, beyond their callers, beyond their tactics and match variations, the key moments in games are taken care of by the players on the pitch. And if you visit the game against Madagascar and Comoros, and you go through the highlights of the key moments in the game, then you ask yourself, before we went down 1-0 against Comoros, Semenyo should have shot us up 1-0 with that chance that was created by Inaki Williams, a through pass. And a striker in the caliber of Semenyo playing in an elite league like the Premier League flap his lines. And what we get is that we are punished for our striker Semenyo not scoring, but for the younger striker in Comoros, who we will even struggle to find the league that he plays in, to finish off that beautiful play and solo run that he did. Now, beyond that goal we conceded, look at the chances that was created for Inaki. Inaki plays again in an elite league for a very, very good football club, scoring for club, but can't score for country consistently. We saw chances with Jordan. So, yes, the structure of the administration is wrong. There are a lot of power play. Our coach has not shown us any sort of strong competence, and our players are just failing to turn up. It makes me miss the days of ACN Muntari and Stephen Appiah and Lai Kinsey. Then there were times it was not about coach. It was about their presence, their quality, and their readiness to pick their moment and make the difference. We don't see that in this current Black Stars team, Ben.
You've made two very important points in questioning the competence of the coach, one, in getting things done with a team, and also the players, and how they also apply themselves, some of them, whilst on the field of play for the national team. And you talked about, you missing the ACNs, the Appiah, the Muntaris, who used to apply themselves really when they were on the field of play. But one would say that if you look at the players we have in this Black Stars team, quality cannot be a question entirely, because if you have players, like you mentioned, playing for some very good teams in Europe, and some of them are actively playing week in, week out, what then can be the issue with the players? Is it that indeed we are not demanding a lot or enough from them from the technical point of view? Or what could be the issue why players will be called into the national team, will be given a chance to play, and still will not give their all in matches for the national team?
You see, Ben, if you go to pure football countries, there are players that are celebrated at the national team level. That same level of celebration will not compensate for their club contributions. For instance, you go to Germany and you name Miroslav Klose. Miroslav Klose doesn't have a great club standard. He doesn't measure up to the greats when you talk about club football in Germany. But he will forever remain in the hearts of German national team fans, because when he comes to the national team, he gets the job done. Now, you see, yes, the argument about quality of our players is very, very legitimate, because then you can't tell me that in the context of African football, a player like Usman Bukhari and what he is doing with West Ham Belgrade, playing week in, week out in the Champions League, scoring goals at the Etihad against Man City, is not a quality player. He is. But how much of memories has he been able to give us when he dons in the national team jersey? I remember when we were going for the World Cup, player like Joseph Prince was left out, and everyone was amazed and surprised. And again, the debate was that we should look at his club numbers and ask ourselves whether it makes sense that we left him out. After the World Cup, he has been getting consistent callers. Till today, he has not given us any memory of him in the jerseys of the Black Stars. So when you ask that, yes, our players on paper for club look quality, and it's enough for them to translate that into a national team, then the fact of the matter is that our players are yet to give us any pedigree memory when they wear the Black Stars jersey. And that is the difference between the current generation of our Black Star players and what we used to see. So, for instance, you want to measure someone like John Mensah and try and remember which club he played for and whether he was a great club defender. And you will struggle to put him in any standard. But John Mensah will forever be a hero in Ghana because whenever he was in the jersey of Ghana, he was exceptional. That is what we are telling our players to give us. That you can be heroes. You can be playing week in, week out for your club. You can be there and about, having the name and having some numbers attached to your name. But always, playing for the national team is different, and we've not gotten the best out of these players in our national team. That is the problem. They have the quality, but they've never been able to translate that in national team, especially with this current generation. And whether it's a problem of technical, whether it's a problem of the players' attitude themselves and their commitment, whether it's a problem of not getting the right support and not getting the right environment to bring the best out of them, whether it's a problem of they are not oriented enough to translate their club form into the Black Stars, or whether it is that how they are being used at club level, it's not the same when they come to the national team. All these things are factors that we can put together and say they are the answers that are contributing to what we are seeing here, Ben.
Absolutely. I'll let you go very soon. Really enjoying the discussions with you on the show. You're live on Star FM in Accra and in Kumasi on Ultimate 106.9. This is Friday Night Football on your radio. Ayala, before I let you go now, so going forward, yes, there's a bigger issue we need to look at with the structure of our football. But in the interim, how do we ensure that we'll get our Black Stars performing again to ensure we can qualify, for instance, for the upcoming World Cup and also go to the AFCON and do better?
Ben, that is a big question. I think so far as we've decided to still go on with Chris, we must be bold to have a frank discussion with him. But then again, you ask, who are those going to have that frank discussion?
So it means if you had your way, Chris should have been allowed to leave.
Of course. For what I have seen, I don't think he is the man to give us any hope in 50 days' time for the AFCON that is going to be played in Ivory Coast. And I say this with a lot of pain because I try to go behind the scenes, and for me, every good team, especially every good African national team, starts with a subculture of the team. Look, you go through the history of African national teams, and the reason why you can assemble great players, golden generations, but they win nothing for their national team, has always been a problem of subculture, discipline, commitment, camp issues. Now, one thing I look out for when there is a coach at the Black Stars is to slip and get the idea whether he's a disciplinarian at camp. He is trying to build a subculture within the team that makes it a very, very disciplined team. And Ben, it's fortunate to say on your show that the primary investigation, Chris is not giving the team that. He's too liberal. So the attitude in camp is not that. That is more focused. That is committed to a serious business. No. And when we have that as our foundation, it is always going to be difficult to anticipate that this Black Stars team is going to get better. So yes, just because of that, I think for me, if left for me alone, we will change. But we are not going to change him, what I know. And he is the coach that is taking us to the AFCON. So then, in discussions like this, the only solution we can confess is that he must be talked to improve the subculture of the team, to be a little more tighter which is discipline, to be a little more forthcoming with how strict these boys have to be when they come to camp. Then we must tell him that we are failing to see his identity on the team, and we must quickly solve that problem. Then again, as we approach the AFCON, in terms of the final analysis and the call-up that we are going to take there, he must be bold enough to get us players that are informed, that are ready to run, that are ready to commit to the JC, and that are ready to, even though we are not going to win the AFCON, Ghanaians will see fighting for something. And we've seen that with Stephen Keshi, the late, with Nigeria. It wasn't their time to win the AFCON. But Steve Keshi, within a short time, only have to change the subculture of the Nigerian team. And tell all the senior players, including Peter Odiwingi and all those guys, that look, I am not here to water your egos. I am here to make sure that those who are ready to fight for me are those who are going to play. Nigeria won the AFCON. So it's not a lost situation. If case can change and be bold and try and change the subculture and give the players that are informed and young and committed to give them results, give them the opportunity to play, we do have the boys to also change our story. So we just have to do the little things that will change the story of the Black Stars, that will bring all that we are not seeing in the current team right within the team, that will give us a team spirit, the bonding of the team, and the people who are not so big in terms of their name and in terms of their pedigree and say, oh, we've been there for so long and this is just another episode of our career with the Black Stars. So we need to change those little things, the subculture, the discipline, and be bold with our discretions in terms of the decisions we take for the Black Stars. Take the right players there, those who are hungry, and those who are not just going to say goodbye after this AFCON. Get the right attitude of players there, and let's see how it goes. We have a record. In 2010, the squad that we took there had no hope because they were not the creme de la creme of players, but they were focused, they were young, they were ready to fight, they were running. You remember Poko Ajimain and the rest, Rabiu Mohammed, them. They were not flamboyant. They are not gotten there as elite players of the Black Stars. But because of the subculture of the team, because of what they really wanted to achieve for themselves at that level, we were able to go all the way to the finals and breaking a lot of genes in us getting there. So that is what is needed in this short time. Drastic decisions, drastic decisions must be taken if we need to change our story in Ivory Coast in 50 days.